So welcome everyone to Citron Cooperman's Future Reimagined series. I'm really glad you were able to join us today. Just one quick administrative note: if you have any questions, you can go to the bottom and click on the Q&A section, and we will try and address those questions as much as we possibly can in the next half hour. I'm really excited to be here with Mike Principe. Mike is an old buddy of mine. We've known each other for quite a while, and he's got just a really interesting business that he's in. And I'm excited to have him share with you some of the thoughts about GSE Worldwide and his role at the company. So, Mike, if you could just give us a little bit of overview about what GSE is all about.
Sure. Thanks, Ken, for having me. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you, and thank you, Citron Cooperman. I really enjoy not just working with you on a professional level, but a personal one too. And working with your firm has always been a very beneficial experience for us. Always end our engagements in a better place than we started. So thank you for Citron Cooperman for having me, and thank you, Ken, for spending some time with me today. But GSE, look, we're at the basis term, we're a sports agency. What we do is, we are a sports management and marketing company. We represent clients in their sporting endeavors, as well as their marketing endeavors, and sometimes in their post-career endeavors, which may be the broadcast booth or coaching. We work with companies and help them think about how to manage their sports marketing budgets or ideate their sports marketing budgets. And we will run bespoke events, sporting events that will actually tie into our business lines as well, which is, again, a long way of saying we're not just a bunch of Jerry Maguires. We are a bunch of folks that try to take a more academic and intellectual approach to how we view the sports industry.
So how many times have you watched that movie?
43.
So it is a good movie. It really is.
Yeah, so, and by the way, Ken, I'm sorry, cliche of cliches, honest to God, on my children, we used to office, the Jerry Maguire office, we rented for like 7 years. That was our office building.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. That's great. Yeah. So, but you went to law school to start it all off. Like, how did you make the route from law school to get yourself started into the sports industry? How did that all happen?
The sports industry piece was pure happenstance, and I am the opposite of the poster child with, well, how did you get here? Kind of thing. So, look, I'm an M&A attorney and transactional attorney by training. I went to law school not to get into sports. It wasn't even on my radar screen, even though I happen to like sports. It was because I wanted to be a businessman. I didn't really know what that meant, but I knew I wanted to be in business. And when I actually spent a few lucid moments thinking about what I wanted my future to be in college, for a postgraduate, enterprise, it was either going into numbers or words, business school or law school. And my thinking at the time might have been wrong, was you can understand numbers, but business always came down to the contract. And it was how you think about a contract and how you think about risk and how you think about opportunity. And for me, again, in my well-intentioned, but probably, less fulsome brain, it was, if I go to law school, I think this will give me a better leg up with whatever it is I decide to do entrepreneurial, because I knew I didn't want to be a career, private practice type of lawyer.
Gotcha. So I haven't checked Nostradamus's predictions, but none of us could have predicted these last 18 months, right? Yeah. And I'm curious how you and your team have really adapted to the circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Well, most importantly, I grew a beard, which I think is a great sign of adaptation in a difficult environment.
Me too.
Okay. So look, what we did, Ken, the first thing that we had to do is make some really difficult decisions. Our business, sport, stopped.
Right.
If you think about it, and sport, World War II didn't stop sport. If you think about that. So we were not even a once in a lifetime, we were a once in an industry environment where our entire business shut down. There was no commerce going on in our business. So the first thing we had to do is to make some very difficult decisions in right-sizing our business from a people perspective.
Yeah.
We could talk about that, but the takeaways from that: act quickly, act decisively, have a message, be consistent with that message, and try to be as humanely as possible about what you're doing. But it was really important for us to make sure that the people that were with us understood what we were doing, why we were doing it, and that was to make us a better, stronger company, which we did to become a better, stronger company. We actually picked up a ton of market share. We did an acquisition. We really grew the company during a very difficult time.
Wow.
From a business perspective, one of the biggest adaptations was, and it already started coming, but this was just going from maybe 15 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour really quickly, was everything got pushed online. Everything got pushed digitally. And, that was a big adaptation. And fortunately, we were a little ahead of the curve because about a year before that, we were having strategic meetings in our boardroom, and we looked around, and a lot of people in the boardroom, unfortunately, looked like me. My demographic, I'm much better looking, but certainly my demographic. And there were a couple takeaways from that, which we could get into, but one takeaway was we knew, business was becoming more digital. We knew there were more access points to create content. And my demographic, we're not on the leading edge of that. So,
sure.
We started thinking about it back in 19 of, looking at the people that we surrounded ourselves that make GSE, and boy, we need to start hiring a little differently to think about, the future, to think about, creating more digital engagement.
So did you hire a bunch of 13-year-olds? Who did you hire?
Yeah, effectively. Well, that's what it feels like, when you get to the south side of 50, everybody
Yeah.
seems to be a little younger. No, we really did. We made a very conscious effort, at least from the digital perspective, to hire younger people
Right.
in their 20s. We would actually look at, especially if we're looking to enhance our social media presence, our graphic
Sure.
design presence, how folks communicated with the world, we'd spend a lot of time actually looking through their feeds and see how they communicated with the world. And that would help inform us of some of our hiring decisions.
It sounds like you really were ahead of the curve on that, and I really commend you on that. So, you guys are probably really, you're running right now. When sports opened up, it must have changed everything for you.
It did, Ken. And look, and it's still opening up, right? We still have a ways to go. But having butts in seats again was huge on so many different levels. It enabled our business to start getting back on the marketing and endorsement side, because we were able
Sure.
to start connecting again.
Yeah.
Fortunately, sport was so powerful that even before they had butts in the seats, once they started opening up golf tournaments that were fanless, or tennis tournaments that were fanless, or they started playing NFL, NBA games. I think Commissioner Silver did a great job of getting in front of everything. It just showed the power of sport, that people still wanted to consume that content. So at a baseline, once everyone got their arms around the disease and how people can at least participate safely, maybe not en masse, the media money and the TV money was there. So that was a big piece for our business once that started opening up. And to your point, Ken, from there, then it started blossoming.
Yeah. So there are some amazingly intriguing things that are happening in the sports industry right now. The Collegiate Athletic Economic Freedom Act, That just recently passed, where, these young kids that are in college can now, they can basically sell their image and their likeness. I mean, how have you approached that?
Thoughtfully, very thoughtfully. So look, at the top level, with a great deal of excitement, we're very excited about this.
Sure.
Primarily for the student athletes, first and foremost. These are, young adults, some adults, but some young adults. Some of these athletes are 18 years old, 18 years old, who are spending an inordinate amount of time playing a sport and a game, and are maybe giving up their academic studies, or saying, I want a career in this sport, in this discipline, which is sport, which is very difficult to achieve. A lot of kids that go through pre-med will may become doctors. Most may become doctors. Or, if you become an English lit, yeah, you'll probably get something in there. Was it 2-3% of student athletes actually, less than that, actually become professional athletes in the place they want to be? So to be able to compensate them to some extent for sacrificing what may be some of their future career is important. And also, they are generating a fair amount of income for the schools in most cases that they play for. So
absolutely. So do you find yourself, you're dealing with the family members, I would imagine, a lot more than you would have with others? You're probably dealing with, there have been talk about these kids jumping from high school, their last year of just passing it to get to college so they can sign these huge contracts. Are you dealing with kids at that level?
We are, and the most important thing for us, and the more family engagement, the better, as provided everybody is thinking in the athlete's best interest. Right? We've all seen the horror shows and the movies and the TV shows where you do have people that may not have the athlete's best interest in mind, but the more people involved who are looking out for the athlete, that's great. Our first job is education. We need to educate the potential client and the family. One, just as to the business. Somebody's brand is a very important part of their earning, potential. And it's not easy to understand what your brand means and how do you maximize your brand, and creating realistic expectations. Not everybody may have a brand. You may be a solid athlete. Okay, if that's the case, how do we approach it? Then the next part of education is understanding the laws, the rules, the regulations that apply to that specific athlete. And it really is it is a regulatory patchwork right now. First of all, not every state has a law in place. There are certain states that have laws, and those states it's not uniform from state to state. There isn't a federal act in place yet. There are competing acts that are being talked about, so you don't necessarily have great federal guidance. If you go up to the Supreme Court, where you look for guidance, they said, the athletes should be able to monetize their name and likeness, but we'll leave it to you guys to figure it out. Okay, thank you very little. And then you turn to the NCAA, and same thing. And look, they've got a zillion different things that they need to be thinking about, and a number of different constituencies. And the NCAA is, their guidance is, well, you have to follow the guidance in your state, and we'll be there to help and check compliance to make sure that people are complying with the applicable rules and regs. But there isn't a uniform act that covers every student athlete in the land right now.
Yeah, it's going to be confusing for a while. I'm sure it's going to take some time for everybody to figure it all out. And I'm sure there will be people out there who will be trying to take advantage of some of these young kids, unfortunately. But that'll be where I get involved. So let me ask you about non-fungible tokens. We're hearing a lot about that with athletes creating these. What are you guys doing in the space?
We're engaging in that space. as well. So when we look at our client base and when we look at a brand and someone's marketability and their intellectual property, there are different asset classes that we could have them go into. And what we're doing when we look to market our athletes, we look for stories. We look for differentiators. We try to match the right athlete and their likes and interests with the right demographic or the right medium for them to express that. So for NFTs, as some people may call them, we have explored them and we have looked at certain of our clients. And in fact, we are very proud to say that we are one of the agencies leading the space in developing NFTs for athletes. So our industry, exploded when Gronk did his big NFT, and then Mahomes did his big NFT. And these are NFL football stars that's backed by the biggest league in our country. Well, we came out with the third and fourth sport NFTs, and one of our golf clients, Bryson DeChambeau, we did an NFT for him. So, we like to say we were the first global athlete that launched an NFT.
Perfect fit for you guys. Perfect fit for an NFT, right?
And it made a ton of sense. He's an interesting guy. He's always thinking. He's been so far down the road with getting in front of blockchain technology and crypto because he's so intelligent that, when we approached him with that concept, it was, he got it immediately. It was almost like, what were you waiting for, guys? And then this is fun too. And this was before NILs came into law, but after he graduated, we did the first NFT for a post college player, Luka Garza, who was the 21 Naismith Player of the Year. We launched his NFT.
That's really, really cool. So do you see that as a big piece of the puzzle for some of these athletes going forward, or is it just is it kind of like a trendy thing that's going to go away after a while? What do you think?
Look, tulips are still tulips, okay, and people still buy tulips. They may not be paying thousands of dollars for tulips like they did 300-400 years ago, but they're still tulips. I think it'll always be an asset class. I think it'll be a push towards quality content. The days of putting an NFT of something like Dadaism or something Arpian is not necessarily that we're past that passing, this is a novel concept. There'll be a flight to quality and it'll become a new art form, which it is. It's digital collections, digital art.
Right.
But I think it'll temper a bit from the hysteria that we saw in the past 6 months.
What about gambling? Gambling in the sports industry, right? All of a sudden, we all know that it was going on forever, billions and billions of dollars being spent on it annually, if not daily during the Super Bowl. And now all of a sudden it's legal, right? And you've got these sports announcers talking about the lines and all of that stuff. Where do you see that going in the industry? And how does that affect your athletes in some ways?
It's great for us. It's great for us. So part of the education, at the basis level, our agents are constantly, working with our clients and, about sports betting and the not to do in sports betting. Right?
Sure.
Let's use that as a gate. But if you're looking at this on a macro level for the industry, we completely embrace it. It's great for us. It's great for our clients because it drives awareness and engagement. So there's always the passionate fan. The passionate fan is going to be consuming sport regardless of what happens. But if you had the casual fan or the less than casual fan, someone that's not even into sport, but may now actually watch sport because they've got a $10 kind of fun bet that somebody had them do. Okay, sure. That's great. That's more eyeballs, to the sport. It's better for our clients because they're more visible, which helps us make them more marketable. And we're starting to see new endorsement categories. So DraftKings is now a very prominent sponsor and is working with some of our clients. So we fully engage sports betting, provided it's done the right way. But as an industry, it's great for our business.
Okay. So that what I do, the forensic accounting, the fraud investigations, and dealing with all these management improprieties. With the change to the remote environment that we've dealt with over the last 18 months, have you seen concerns within your organization with regard to gaps in controls or changes in controls? You mentioned earlier that you reduced your footprint. So you might have had some people that had control over each other, and now that's not actually happening. Have you seen any kinds of concerns? Are you worried about it? Or are there things that you're doing to kind of prevent the potential problems that could arise from this?
So we think our controls actually got stronger, and that's in no small part from working with you and the learnings that we've had from you personally and from Citron. That for us, it came down to, because people weren't in offices, we had to have the proper controls. Right? You couldn't just walk into someone's office and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Which could be a weakness because you're relying on somebody's word at that point. And that was something that we've talked a lot about is, let's create redundancies and all the good stuff that you've taught us in our business. So once we went, when we went home, it forced us to really look and take a much deeper look at our controls, at our processes. What do we need to address, since we're not going to be able to walk into the CFO's office, or the director of finance can't walk into an agent's office and say, "Hey, let's talk about your expense report." So we used it as an opportunity to further strengthen our controls. We were very pleased that our controls were strong on the front end. And we didn't have those people breaks that might occur at times, but we used it as an opportunity to really tighten it up. And now that we're back in the offices, we've taken those tighter controls forward with us. It's something that's going to stick with us for a long, long time, until you guys tell us that we need to tighten up again.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's the kind of thing that'll create efficiencies in your organization, and structurally people will understand what their roles are when it comes to those kinds of issues. So I commend you for that. So I got to ask you this. This is a basic question that everybody would want to know, right? You do all this cool stuff. What's your favorite part of your job? What do you like doing the most within your day-to-day process?
From a business perspective, I'm a builder. I'm a grower. I like to be able to see where I want to be, and then take the steps to get in that direction to hopefully achieve the goals that we want to achieve. So on a business perspective, I really enjoy growing. I really enjoy building the business. We just did a deal to get into the NFL, and one of the top NFL agents in the world, David Cantor, is now working with us, and like no small amount of pride and enjoyment to have David part of the company. Like, that makes me super happy. The softer part is watching people develop. We have a lot of entry-level positions, and seeing young people who may not have a ton of experience in the business space being put into a difficult environment. There's a lot of pressures. There's a lot of intellect that goes on. It's not as easy as some of the movies make this thing seem, and you really do need to be thinking 360 from a young person, because you not only have to think about yourself, you have to think about the company, but most importantly, you have to think about the client. And seeing these young people develop over time, that is my favorite part, is to watch human beings actually develop and grow, and sometimes leave to do their own thing, because that's part of growth and development. But that's a huge part of enjoyment for me.
Very cool. So there's this little golf tournament that's taking place this weekend. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called the Ryder Cup. And it's for those who are not avid golfers, it's a tournament with 12 European golfers against 12 American golfers. And it's just an incredibly energized environment for golf, where you've got these raucous fans going crazy. Your organization has like 6 or 7 guys representing both sides of the pond. So my first question is, who are you rooting for?
Whatever's good for golf.
All right, that's the political answer that I figured I'd get. All right, I get it. I get it.
USA. No. We want everyone to do well, but I am an American.
I mean, but it's amazing. You really do have a huge representation in the group. And there were actually a couple of guys that just barely missed it that are yours also.
Yeah. So look, we're very fortunate. We have a number of athletes in there. Heart, hand to heart, who am I rooting for? I'm rooting for our guys to do well. That's really what it is. It takes a little bit of the fun out of sports sometimes, because now you're rooting for people. It's less teams and country. You're really rooting for people, and not just because they're part of your company, but some of them or through the agents. And oh my gosh, Sergio is such a good guy. We want him to do really well. Or Paul Casey, the nicest guy in the world. That was awesome that he made that putt. Or holy cow, look what Bryson just did. You know what? This guy, like, it's fun when you have some of the personalities behind it that makes it a bit more special.
So what's Bryson really like?
He's a tremendous guy. Tremendous. I mean, he's thoughtful, intellectual, hardworking. You can't say enough positive things about the guy.
That's cool.
Not that I've ever met him, but what I've heard. That he's all these wonderful things.
That's the other thing. You're the CEO of the company. I envision you like hanging out with these guys and playing golf with them, or shooting baskets with the basketball players. You're on the business side. It's like you're not out there playing ever.
Honestly, for the most part, I'm an obligation to the clients. Okay. And I appreciate that. I'm not adding value to Bryson. I'm not adding value to Xavier Howard. I mean, what am I doing? If it's taking time out of their schedule to say hello to me or spend time with me, I appreciate that. They don't need another obligation. If I'm in a room, of course, I'll say hi. If I can be helpful, of course, I'll be be helpful. If someone wants to learn more about the company or how we think about the business, then absolutely I'll be there in a heartbeat. But, Ken, what you see is what you get. Like I'm not hanging out in the clubs with anyone. They don't want me anywhere near them, because that would be a good way to turn away a lot of people. But my business is with guys like you. That's where I do most of my.
Well, that's a major plus then.
It's a huge plus. It's a huge plus.
So I've got a question from one of our viewers. So it's from a guy by the name of Barry Mazarski. He says, "Hey Mike, great to see you. What do you think of NIL collective licensing opportunities, and how you build the economics from mass athlete license representation?"
The first thing I would say is that I would have to hire a really good consultant to help me with that.
Okay.
And I know something, but look, it's a big opportunity. It's a platform play, and I know a lot of folks are looking at that, and we've looked at it in the past. Of do you create an ASCAP CSAC BMI kind of model.
Mm.
For us, it's a little too early for us to think about that. We need to have the law develop a bit more until we do that. That being said, we're not volume people. We do work with. We are looking to be very targeted in how we approach things. But like, for example, on a mini scale, from what Barry has said, is we do work with a number of kids in the university, athletes in the University of Alabama. Some of the basketball team and some of the football team. And we do look for not just individual opportunities, but if we can put together some opportunities that everyone can participate, that fits within Alabama's and the school's rules and regulations. That's
Sure.
something we can do.
Terrific. Well, listen, I'm looking at the time, and I know that if I could talk to you for hours about this stuff, but I know that I'll get yelled at if I don't cut it off very soon. So I would just like to say for myself and also for Citron Cooperman, thank you so much for joining us today, Mike. We so appreciate your insights. I mean, you're such an interesting guy, and it's a great topic. So I want to thank you. I want to thank all of the people who are on the site. And if anybody has any additional questions, please fire them over to me, and I will direct them over to Mike, and we'll be happy to get some answers for you. So everybody have a great day, great afternoon, and stay safe.
Thanks for having me, Ken.